Welcome back. Can everybody hear me? Mic working? All right, I hope everyone had a great lunch. Next time we do this, I'm gonna make sure somebody saves me a box because I haven't eaten all day. But I heard it was wonderful. You know, we're finally here for the session that I think just possibly we've all been waiting for. But before we get to our conversation with Ben, or as some of you may call him, Macklemore, there's someone I'm really excited and grateful to introduce you to. You know, last year, exactly 1 year ago this month, actually, as we were making our way down from Delaware on the bus, we got an unexpected call from the White House. We were asked to come down to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue because Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff had heard about the Mobilize Recovery Across America bus tour. He was interested in learning more and wanted to add his name to the thousands of names and messages of hope and resilience from across the country. So needless to say, the decision wasn't very hard and we made a quick detour, and within 48 hours we were on White House grounds. Keep fighting is what the Second Gentleman added to the bus that day. And I am here to report back to him that 1 year later, the Mobilize Recovery movement is still fighting, and we will never stop. Now, there's a few things you need to know about Doug Emhoff beyond his extraordinary work on our cause in the Biden-Harris White House. Mr. Emhoff is well known for his esteemed legal career, his current role as a law professor at Georgetown, and for being a leading voice against anti-Semitism, both here at home and abroad. More controversially, however, he is also known for his devotion to the LA Lakers, the LA Sparks, and the LA Rams, even when those teams are playing against the Vice President's hometown Northern California favorites. All I know is that we are lucky to have him on our team here at Mobilize Recovery. Friends, please help me welcome the Second Gentleman of the United States, Mr. Doug Emhoff.
Ryan is trying to get me in trouble. Wow, thank you. Wow. All right, I'm going to bring you everywhere with me because that is an incredible response. I half expected to see the bus in here. I got to tell you, I'm a little disappointed. But Ryan, thank you. Where are you? Thank you so much for all you do, how you do it, how you keep fighting, will keep fighting. The passion, and look at this. This is what you've done. This is what you've put together. I remember last year, like it was yesterday, that whole experience last year of seeing the bus, meeting families, really digging in with the folks here in the Biden-Harris administration on everything about this issue is something that stuck with me last year. It carried me through the year of doing everything I can, and I promise you, I will continue fighting for you as well. And you're all on the front lines in this fight, and you have been, some of you for many, many, many years. And I know that fight is tough. It takes a lot out of you. A lot of you have lost family members and friends, and yet you still persevere and do this work. But this event with Mobilize Recovery is a chance to just recharge. It's a chance for you to just have a little fun, spend some time together, be in our amazing city of DC, and just get ready to go back out there. Because when you go back out there, what are you going to do? You're going to fight. But the stories, the loss can be devastating, but also I'm inspired by your bravery. It inspires me. It really does, in everything that I do. And I know everyone here has been impacted directly in one way or another by addiction. And I know, and I've said this to many of you, I see a lot of you out there that I've already met, this is not a political issue. This is about all of our families. This is a family issue. This doesn't care. This can go to any city, a red state, a blue state. It doesn't care. This is about you and your families, not politics. And it's also about our children. I'm a father. This is something that I worry about. I know a lot of you worry about as well. And we've got to be able to reach the young people in our lives in a way that is intelligent, respectful, but also communicates to them where they are and how they obtain communication. And I know I've talked to a lot of you about that. A few weeks ago, I see some of you out there. I met on International Overdose Awareness Day at the White House. Hi, I see you. I see a lot of you out there. It's good to see you again. It was really great to see you a couple of weeks ago, and some of those I've even met with last year. What did we talk about? We talked about a lot. I heard your stories, but we talked about erasing the stigma about talking about this issue. We need to get rid of the stigma. We also need to talk about this issue with compassion. With compassion, and we have to share information. It has to be okay to talk about this, and it has to be okay to compare what's working and what's not working. So we need to have the right tools, the right resources to prevent drug use and to fight addiction. Now, President Biden and my wife, Vice President Harris, well, you know they've got your back. They have both been fighting for you and the American people on this issue, for access to services and everything that is required to fight. We want to make sure that everyone who is currently struggling with addiction can experience the joy of recovery. And you're going to hear a lot about that on the next panel, I know. And that everyone enjoying recovery can maintain it and stick with it. So on the same day that I met with those families a few weeks ago, the Biden-Harris administration announced $450 million for local, state, and rural communities to help beat the overdose epidemic. And nearly 58 million went towards ensuring more Americans have access to life-saving recovery support services, including health care, housing services, and job training. Right? Now, it's National Recovery Month, as you know. We are celebrating more than 20 million Americans who are in recovery, which is pretty good. The Biden-Harris administration created the first ever Office of Recovery, and I work with them. I work with them all the time. They're amazing. And it's led by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Again, these are incredible, passionate, dedicated people doing the work for all Americans, all Americans. The Office of Recovery works to foster relationships with mental health and addiction recovery organizations. The office also helps to identify health disparities in high-risk and vulnerable populations to ensure that everybody can get this support, because everybody needs this support. It's not just for the few, it's for everyone. And the Biden-Harris administration is focused on keeping communities safe. We've got to keep people safe, so we're helping more and more Americans to get into recovery and to stay in recovery, and we are going to keep doing this and keep fighting for you and everyone else. The Vice President, again, I love saying that, but the Vice President, my wife, the Vice President, it's still, I mean, come on. It's still a little surreal. You know, we're getting up in the morning, and it's like, what are you doing today, honey? I'm going on my third stop on my college tour. What are you doing? I get to speak to all of you today. But she's not new to this issue. She was a prosecutor in San Francisco for many years working on this exact issue. She was Attorney General of California, and she worked closely, California. We both love California, even though we do fight about the sports teams. But she worked closely with those who had lost children to this overdose epidemic, and she successfully went after transnational organizations and held them accountable for their role in drug trafficking. And she brings that to the table as vice president. But we're not doing this work alone. We've seen progress, a lot of progress these last couple of years. It's because of people like you coming forward, doing the work each and every day, and calling for more action. We talk a lot about this when I meet with you. You've taken all that pain that you have suffered and will suffer, but you've turned it into action. You've turned it into purpose, turning pain into purpose, and that's what it's all about. Our communities are going to be safer, our children will be safer, and it's just the right thing to do. So thank you again for having me. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I'm going to continue to be a part of this. Whether I have this microphone or not, I'm going to continue to be a part of this. So thank you so much. I'm going to now turn it back to Ryan. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So I'm going to ask the second gentleman to just stay up here on the stage with me for just a few moments, if that's okay, sir. So, you know, when I came into recovery, I was told I would get a new freedom and a new happiness, but nobody ever told me I was going to be the warm-up act for Elvis. I am thrilled to introduce a special session here at Mobilize in 2023, a heartfelt, honest talk between two longtime friends, staunch Mobilize Recovery allies, and phenomenal human beings. These two have known each other for years. Their bond and their mutual respect are so inspiring to me, and really it's a testament to how we stick together through thick, thin, and everything in between. Jace E. Cage is a veteran MC and proud community member of Seattle who uses the art of hip-hop as his platform to share ideas, concerns, triumphs, and challenges. He's the artist engagement coordinator for the residency and works to help guide and prepare Seattle's youth for their futures, especially as they relate to the music business and hip-hop culture. Ben Haggerty, better known by his stage name Macklemore, is a Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter. He's performed since 2000 and in the past decades done so much more than rock the mic, from building a powerful community of young hip-hop artists to inadvertently writing the theme song for National Thrift Shop Day, and that is a real day. This man is a cultural force. Please join me in welcoming to Mobilize Recovery 2023, Jace E. Cage and Macklemore.
What's up, everybody? Wow. Okay. How y'all doing back there in the back? All right. All right. Are y'all ready for a little conversation really quickly? All right. So, Ben, it's good to be here with you. We're back at Mobilize Recovery.
Yes.
Can you tell us how you're feeling and what's going on with you?
My nose is really cold. I have a large nose. It's 47 degrees back there in the green room. And yeah, it's like air conditioning. If there's, I'm from Seattle, we don't have air conditioning. So I'm not used to this. But besides that, I feel very grateful to speak on the issue of recovery, the thing that saved my life. So anytime that I have the opportunity to do that, I feel blessed.
Say that. All right, let's get into this journey a little bit. So how has your journey been through recovery from drugs influenced your music and creative process?
Well, first and foremost, drugs never were a conduit for me to tap into my creativity. I think that there's a big misconception in the music industry that if you want to be a rapper, if you want to be a rock star, that it goes hand in hand with drugs and alcohol, and that has not been my story. Drugs and alcohol were a veil for me to tap out of the higher power that I would tap into when I was clean. And the minute that I would put drugs, alcohol in my body, it was like that light switch just turned off. So, I would get clean for short periods of time. This is before I found actual recovery, but I would have abstinence for short periods of time, as a teenager in my early 20s. And it wasn't until I went to treatment for the first time at the age of 25 where I learned that I actually had the disease of addiction and that there was a solution with a daily reprieve that I could tap into. And from there, I got out of treatment and was like, well, what do I do? I'm in my parents' basement. I have negative $40 in my Wells Fargo bank account. And those overdraft fees are adding up real quick. And it was then where I was like, you know what? What am I going to do in terms of sharing my story? No one, to my knowledge, at that point within hip-hop culture had come out and been like, guess what, guys? Like, I don't use drugs and alcohol, or even more so, I'm in recovery. That wasn't a conversation that anyone was having at that point. And I remember I was working with Ryan Lewis, and it was in his parents' basement. And he was like 17 at the time, so he had a better reason to be in his parents' basement. But no shame on my story, And he put on this loop to a beat, and I remember just hearing the beat, and I started writing. And I wrote this record called Other Side, and I wrote it in probably 15 minutes. And it was one of those very rare moments in the creative process where the pen was moving itself. I was not attached to that pen. I was a conduit. I was a vessel for something that was flowing through me, but I was not here. I was here. And I wrote about recovery, and I thought, you know what, this is scary. I don't know, this isn't gonna sell. This is completely the polar opposite from what everybody else is talking about, but I need to tell my truth. I do not want to be a secret. If it affects me financially, which, again, I had no money, so it couldn't do that much damage. But I wanted to tell the truth, and I remember I shortly got on a very small tour, and we were in Colorado after that record, Other Side, came out, and I remember a group of 6, 8, 10 people coming up to me after the show and being like, we're all in recovery, and we came here because of that song. And it still puts goosebumps on my arms. Like, that was that moment where I was like, oh, music is medicine. We see God in one another through music. When we share openly, honestly about who we actually are, take the mask off and be real with one another and be vulnerable. And I've never stopped sharing about it since.
Yes, yes. Y'all go ahead and make some noise for that. That's real. A lot of times we say it's in you, it's not on you. So it was inside of you and it came out, and it's good to see, because look what we've done, right? You got so many people here that are going through the same thing. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for sharing you with the rest of the world. Can you share some pivotal moments or experiences during recovery that have had a significant impact on your personal growth as an artist?
Will you ask it one more time?
can you share some pivotal moments or experiences during your recovery that have had a significant impact on your personal growth as an artist?
Well, first and foremost, I wouldn't be here without recovery. I want to be up on the stage. I want to be alive. So it has literally become the very centerpiece of my life. And that's not to say that I have always prioritized it as a centerpiece of my life. You know, I have fallen short of that many times. But I think that it's the avenue in which I connect. It's like, it's tough to, it's like, how do you describe oxygen? It's like, I'm not a scientist. It's just like you breathe that and that's what keeps you alive. Like recovery is what keeps me alive. It's what keeps me here. And it's how I find meaning and fulfillment. So where does art come from? In order to produce music that has joy in it, that has struggle in it, that has life in it, you have to get quiet. You have to be able to tap into something bigger than yourself. And that, the only reason why I'm able to do that is because I'm clean today. That's it. And the only reason why I'm clean today is because of recovery. So it's a secular process in the most beautiful way. And, you know, I think back, we were making The Heist, and I'd already made Other Side, and and at this point, we're making The Heist, and Other Side had grown. It was probably my biggest record at the time, or one of them. And we were making The Heist, and I relapsed, and I had over 3 years in recovery. I had 3 years clean, and I remember relapsing. And it was my first relapse after being in the rooms of recovery. And I felt so much guilt and shame around, damn, I came out, I broke my own anonymity, I had this song, a bunch of people told me that the song was really meaningful to them, and here I am, and I relapsed. And I wrote a record about that called Starting Over. And it wasn't to, none of this is performative or to placate or like sell something. This is literally therapy for me. That's what it is. And I wrote that record in so much pain. And then I had people come up to me after that and be like, thank you for that record because I've relapsed too. And you know, relapse doesn't have to be part of your story. It's just a part of mine. And I'm not ashamed of my story today. So I think back to that pivotal moment of, again, choosing to not protect my own image, not to shield, not to throw a mask on, not to you know, put my ego in a corner. We're as sick as our secrets, and I was not trying to keep that secret from the world. I just wasn't. And because of that, then other people are like, oh, word, if he can say it, then so can I. Because so much of the problem is when we relapse, we have to go back to our home group. We have to raise our hand. We have to reset our clean date. We have to do these things. And, you know, this is a sidebar, and it's probably controversial, but I don't subscribe to time anymore. I really don't. If you have a lot of recovery time, or you be proud of your recovery time. Don't let that, you know, we're celebrating birthdays, all that. But for me, I have today. That's what I have, and that's it. And I think so much, I've watched people with long-term recovery, with 20 years, go back out and never make it back into the rooms because they're like, man, I had 20 years. Now I only have 2 weeks. It's like, no. I have come back, you know, I have come back from relapses more alive and more connected to God than I was with years of recovery. It's all about today. It is all about today. And I think that we can oftentimes, in that guilt and that shame and that own, you know, I hate myself, I can't believe I did this, comes from this linear time frame that we put on ourselves. So I have today. Sidebar, sorry, I'm done.
Yes, indeed. So, in saying all of that, how do you stay motivated and focused on your journey to sobriety, especially while balancing a busy career in this music industry?
Well, I will say, first and foremost, I'm an addict. That's what I am. And I have and people are like, oh man, it must be so hard for you with your life. I'm like, nope, nope. That's an excuse, and I'll be using that same one on myself, but no, it's not true. I have time, particularly with Zooms now, but I have time to call my sponsor. I have time to pick up the phone and connect with another member of my recovery community. I have time to be of service, even if it's just for a short duration, to somebody else that's struggling with the same disease that I have. I have time. And you know, maybe with some international travel and some jet lag, like maybe that's, you know, maybe that's more challenging. But for the most part, there is no separation. We are exactly the same. We're just some addicts trying to recover. And that's what it is. So I don't ever want to use that excuse to talk my way out of the miracles that are in front of me today. And I have no idea what the question was, but yep.
You're answering it. You're answering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just talking up here, just two friends talking up here.
Yeah.
You're good.
You said something, man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So, you know, we talked about the themes of your music, resiliency and overcoming adversity. How has your recovery journey shaped your ability to connect with audiences on a deeper level?
I get to be present today. I get to look the audience in the eye and not feel like I'm hiding anything. And I think so much of my disease is rooted in this desire to escape, right? To feel different. Like I love to feel different. And for me today, I find joy in the uncomfortable. I feel joy in the spiritual transformation that is existing within all of us all the time, whether we know it or not. And I have absolutely loved the art that I've been able to make that resonates on a like when people come up to me and they're like, oh man, like thrift shop, that was my cut back in the day, or like, yo, that last single, like I love that. Like that's like, thank you, I appreciate that. I get on autopilot. The minute that somebody comes up to me and says anything about what my music or what I have said has done for them in their life around the journey of recovery, that is the greatest compliment that I can possibly receive as an artist and a human, period. And yeah, it feels great. And I love, like, you know, to be in a room of addicts. Like this is we are a powerful, I was writing about this morning, we are a powerful group of people because we have reached for the heavens, and it didn't work that way, right? It didn't work that way of the quick instant gratification. Let me try to just beam up there and just see what's going on. And because of that, we crashed down, and we know what the floorboards of the basement of the disease of addiction feel like. Like we scraped against those floorboards. We have that debris in our fingernails. That is what makes us who we are. That is our superpower, though, because we pulled ourselves up out of that seemingly hopeless place of denial, and now we are here. And whether you have today, whether you have 2 days or 25 years, it doesn't matter. That is the thing that ties all of us together. And that, like backstage, they brought the big book, the original manuscript for the big book, and I looked at that thing, and You know, it was behind glass, so I couldn't look that close. But no, I started to read it, and I got tears in my eyes thinking about the ripples that book has created. Powerful, powerful ripples that have changed millions and millions and millions of people's lives because they wanted to be of service. They wanted to give the thing that had saved their life to somebody else because they knew that their recovery depended on it, and they wrote about it. And, you know, whether it's legislation, whether it's advocacy, whether it's just showing up here today, we're all part of those ripples from that original manuscript, and we create our own ripples when we tap into our own recovery with an open heart and share honestly. And that's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced in my life. That's it.
Simple solo, no more, no less. So that leads into this next question, which I think is very important. Mobilize Recovery is all about recovery, advocacy, and action. What's your advocacy message to the world?
We have to stop locking up people who use drugs and alcohol. We need to stop treating people with the disease of addiction like criminals. We need programs where people can heal, where they don't have to pay $20,000 for 28 days. You know, I live in Seattle, Washington, and we have, like everywhere else in this country right now, an epidemic happening right now in the streets with fentanyl and a lot of other drugs. We have no treatment facility, state-run treatment facility in King County, which is our main county in downtown Seattle and surrounding areas. We have no option. There's nowhere to go. So if you are an active addiction and for some reason, some power greater than yourself, you get that hit of willingness where the pain is enough that you can't go on living. And you had that, and a lot of people know what I'm talking about, that life or death moment. That aha moment. And the seas part, and there's just enough willingness where you're like, you know what? I'm going to get help. I want to live. Do you know the hoops that you have to go through after that? And the chance of holding on to that little seed of willingness through all the hoops and 2 forms of identification and insurance and, you know, DSHS and all the things that you have to go through, the chance of that willingness prevailing isn't great. We need a place where people can go when they want to change their lives immediately and get help. And I know jail is not rehabilitation. The penitentiary system is not rehabilitation. It can be that for people, but that's not the soul. That's not why we have penitentiaries, is to rehabilitate. That's for safety. That's for safety. That's to put you away. And if you go find God in there, great, but we don't give a fuck. So we need programs, we need empathy, we need to lessen the stigma of addiction, and when we share our true honest selves, that's what happens. Because the other thing is that you know, and it's part of my experience, and you know, I'm sure I've been told that I step all over the traditions in the anonymity space all the time, and that's never my intention, is to disrespect the traditions and all that, but also we're in a place of crisis. We're in a place of crisis. And I'm tired of seeing people with the platform get clean and then not talk about where it was that they found their miracle. I just am. And I get it, you know, if I go do this and then I go out and relapse, it looks bad upon the rooms of recovery or NA or AA or Mobilize Recovery. I get that. But if I was to go out there and do that, it would be no shortcoming of any of those programs. It was because I didn't choose to work them. And that's an important piece of it, that part. Yeah, that's my advocacy.
In knowing you, I know how important it is that you help folks, help people, particularly young people. So many of your fans look at you as a role model in their own battle with addiction. How do you approach this responsibility, and what message would you like to convey to those who may be struggling with similar challenges?
Was anyone here last night for the event? What?
Say word.
What was it? Word. What was it? Disrupting the narrative? Man. So powerful. And, you know, as they're speaking, I'm like, man, what am I about to say tomorrow? Shit, this is crazy. These young people are prepared and tapped in and inspired me on such a deep level. I listened to those stories and I saw myself. I saw my kids. I saw them. I saw God. I saw the power of sharing our stories. And when you say the word role model, I don't think of myself as a role model. I think of myself as someone, just another one of you guys. We're exactly the same, no greater than, less than. I might have a couple more people at the show tonight than if you were to throw a hip-hop show tonight, but there's no separation. And I think that's the trick of the devil, to think that that our stories are separate. We have individual stories, they're all unique in their own way, but we are all intrinsically tied to one another. And so I don't think of myself as a role model. I think of myself as someone with a bit of a platform and sometimes a microphone. And at my best, I get out of my own way and let God do the work at my best.
I hear you about the role model, but I know personally how much you affect young people at the residency. Mm-hmm. And every time you come in and speak to them, they're very excited. So I know that you also have an impact that's a little different than maybe some of us, but I'm glad you're using the platform.
No, and to piggyback on that, and I don't take that lightly, and you're not wrong. I'm not trying to force some false, you know. I know that I have a responsibility, but it's not a responsibility. It doesn't feel like a responsibility when I am working my program. It feels like the next right thing to do. And when I'm not working my program, then it becomes another task, right? Then it becomes another thing to check off, or like, oh yeah, I got to do that too. And all of a sudden I stop thinking about other people. And because this disease is rooted in self-centeredness, right? It can become really easy to just focus on me, my favorite subject. You know, the person I wake up with, and the first thing I think of is, what do I want to do today? What do I, you know? And no, I need to get tapped into my Creator and remove me from that self-centeredness that is insidious. It is insidious. And the disease of addiction loves that self-centeredness. It's like, yeah, yes. Go, just do you. You deserve it. The minute I hear you deserve it in my head, I'm like, oh no. The disease is alive and well. Or any victim narratives, like, yeah, man, fuck them. And I'm like, oh, nope, you tricked me before, not today. And, but with young people, or any people, it's an opportunity. And I think the longer that you know, I've been in recovery, the more that I realize it's not about, it's just as, I reap the benefits. And anyone that's worked the 12 steps and has taken somebody else through the 12 steps of whatever program knows this, that the true joy of recovering is helping somebody else. That's what it is. It's not that complicated. It's like the greatest gift. It's under our nose all the time, right? Like getting outside of self, helping somebody else. Really simple, really easy. We make it very complicated because of that self-centered component. But all of a sudden, then it's not a choice. It's not something that I'm like, do I pick up the phone? Do I not pick up the phone? You're just living in God's will. And that is a bountiful place to come from. But the more that I try to control, the more that I'm like, I don't have time, I close up this thing that connects me to the cosmos. And when I get disconnected from that, that's when I'm susceptible to relapse. That's when I'm susceptible to just not being the best version of myself. And with the finite amount of time that we have here on this earth, I want to be the best version of myself, right? Like that's what I'm aiming for. So yeah. Yeah.
All right. We have these conversations often, so just know we're just talking. We're just talking. All right. So in moments of stress or uncertainty, how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance to protect your well-being and sobriety? And I'm going to add, and your family.
Mm-hmm. It can definitely be a challenge. I think also being on the road as much as I am, oftentimes when I come home, I'm like, ooh, now I got to be super dad, right? Now I got to do everything. And my wife's like, here's these 3 kids, be super dad, motherfucker. And it's fair. But then I know for me to be the best dad that I can be, that if I'm only prioritizing my kids and not taking time for my own recovery, that's not actually the best dad that I can be. The best dad that I can be is the one that's like, guys, I need more than 5, but yes. But I need to go to a meeting, and I need to be honest with my kids so they know about the disease that I have, where I can say, Dad needs to go to a meeting. And even better, my 8-year-old daughter could be like, Dad, you need to go to a meeting. That's the relationship that I want with my children, right? I don't want to hide from them. I'm not ashamed of my disease. This is what I got. It's amazing. I love that I get to recover with you guys. And if I'm just focused on only only the show or only the TV performance or only my children, and I'm missing that core center component, then I'll fall. So, how do I keep the balance? I just try. And it's taken a lot of pain to come back to that place of, you know, one of the things that I first heard when I was in treatment that always stuck with me is whatever you put in front of your recovery will be the thing that you lose. And I don't want to lose my kids. I don't want to lose my kids. I know that's a possibility. I'm not naive to think that, like, I can't go out there and do some damage, and CPS is right. That's real. That's real. And I say that with so much love for anyone that's been in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a lot of people in my life that have gone through that situation and have taught me to prioritize your recovery so you don't jeopardize that. And I have jeopardized that. I'm also not going to be up here and pretend like I'm some saint of recovery and that I work a perfect program. I don't. My sponsor's backstage like, but I come back to I come back to the truth that if I work this program, the most beautiful things happen in my life. And I heard yesterday from Joseph, and I don't know if I don't know if I had ever heard it, and maybe it's a bumper sticker, maybe he came up with it, I don't know. But you don't, whether or not you believe that all things happen for a reason, whether you believe all things happen for a reason or not, it's our responsibility to find reason in the things that happen. And I was like, ooh, I'm stealing that shit for sure.
Yes, indeed. So we got a couple more questions, and hopefully we can get to them. But speaking of a support system, how has your support system played a crucial role in your recovery journey? And how do you encourage others to seek support in their own battles with addiction?
I have my closest, some of my closest friendships came from the rooms of recovery. Some of my friends that I was in active addiction with for a long time have also found the rooms of recovery. And being able to have a community around me, even if they're not physically around me, but they're a phone call away, a FaceTime away, having people that I can call on that, and sometimes it's not even like the feedback that you get from that person that you're calling. You just need to snitch on the disease. You just need to say, hey man, yeah, so I'm feeling a little weird. Been kind of wanting to get high. This is why. And pretty much every time that I have done that, which by the way, the disease is like, no, don't call anybody. Hold this. You'll get through it alone. It's like, no. I need to be able to call on those people, because even if they don't come with the most fire advice back, I'm hearing the insanity out loud. The insanity that changing the way that I feel through drugs and alcohol would actually bring me any relief. That is insanity today. There is no relief. And it's a progressive disease. There's not even like the relapses that I've had, they weren't even, it wasn't even, there was no fun. I got too much of you guys in my head. It's not enjoyable. So when I get to tell my truth to another person in my recovery community, I get to see that the disease is alive and they're able to support me just by picking up the phone. That's it. It doesn't have to be the craziest advice. What was the second part of the question? I know time's up.
Yeah, I put the question up, but I did, because I think sometimes we get caught up in these questions, and it's just a conversation. And, me and you have had many conversations, and so I think the second part of this was, how do you encourage others to seek support in their own battles with addiction?
Get a home group, get a sponsor, and work these steps.
Y'all give it up one time for Ben Haggerty, Macklemore.
Thank you, guys.
So, in closing, how many of you guys are excited about the concert tonight? Well, let's make some noise one time for Ben Haggerty, Macklemore. See you tonight.
For our next Inspire Talk, please welcome Honesty Lillard.
Okay, first, I had to yell at Garrett yesterday. yesterday because they moved me around and I'm after freaking Macklemore. I mean, what the hell? Second, I was like nervous, and I've done this a lot, but not after Macklemore. I mean, WTF. But, you know, one of my favorite Peloton instructors says, chin up, crown on. So I'm going to be doing that. So first and foremost, I am Honesty Liller. I am a wife. I am a sister. I am a daughter. I am an author. I am a friend. And the most important thing to me is I am a mom in recovery from a substance use disorder since May 27, 2007. And one of the gifts for me of recovery is I am the CEO of a kick-ass recovery community organization right down the road in Richmond, Virginia. And I went through the program and I started working there at 5 months in recovery. That may be frowned upon, but I don't care. And I've been there for over 16 years and I've been the CEO for 10. What McShin is a accredited recovery community organization right down the road a couple hours. And we have 16 certified recovery homes through VAR. We have judicial programs, so we're in 3 local jails delivering peer-to-peer recovery support services. We have an award-winning podcast that Nathan here helped start years ago called Get in the Herd. That is in 88 jails across the United States, so we have over 1 million views every year for that. And we just have a badass organization that's pretty cool. So thank you all for coming on Sunday and getting the famous John's Shinholzer barbecue. We like to smoke meat, not drugs, up in Richmond. So that's just a little bit of what we do at McShin. So I'm going to just talk about really quick the kind of windy road on how I got to McShin. I started using drugs when I was 12 years old, and I fell in love with heroin when I was 17. So after my overdose and being revived from Narcan, my parents tried to fix me for about 9 more years. So back then, it wasn't as much stuff for treatment. I've had 6 implants, I've had Jesus, I've had 12-step, I've had shots in my butt, I've had everything to fix me from my heroin addiction. You know, and during that process, when I was 20 years old, I got pregnant with my daughter. And, okay, crown on. So I got pregnant with my daughter when I was 20. I was at a methadone clinic once again trying to find treatment. They told me I'd had to stay on methadone throughout my whole pregnancy. I didn't want to put drugs in my daughter's body, so I left and I was back on heroin within a week. So I used heroin my whole pregnancy. My daughter was born substance exposed when I was 21. And, you know, throughout that process, there's so much shame and guilt. When you have a child, and she's almost 22 now, but back then, when you had a child and you showed up at the hospital, you know, on drugs and substances, I was treated like crap. You know, I was definitely, the nurses were not nice, Department of Social Services, they really just mandated me to methadone, and they went and did a home visit and said, here's your kid, even though I had no idea how to be a mom, let alone how to be one without the use of drugs. So for her, throughout all of those years, you know, I didn't find McShin until she was 5 years old. So the stuff that I did to her, physically, mentally, the situations that I put her in was pretty messed up, you know, and it took me a long time, years in recovery to really forgive myself, but I'm completely forgiven. I love who I am, and I love being a mom. Yeah. So, you know, within that process, coming to the McShin Foundation, I was 26 years old. I did not have my daughter. My mom had her. She was 5 years old. And I definitely felt the love. My plan was to detox off of heroin and leave. I ended up living there for 5 months. That magic of that peer-to-peer connection, other humans like me trying to get their life together, specifically women and moms, is what saved my life, along with 12-step fellowship at the time. And I wouldn't be here today if McShin didn't take me with 2 garbage bags of clothes and nothing. My parents gave me a carton of cigarettes and some gift cards to Arby's up the road, and that's it. And they left me there. And John took me in, and it was a beautiful process throughout all of that. But I'll never forget, like the top picture, if they show it top left maybe to y'all, but I was like 2 months in recovery, and I didn't see my daughter much living in the recovery house because I had to work. I had to save money. I had to get out of debt. I had to go to meetings. I had to go to groups. I had to figure out what the hell was going on with me, because I used drugs for 14 years, and I knew I needed to be her mom, but I didn't know how to be in recovery, let alone be a mom in recovery. So throughout that process, when I got her back after moving out of McShin, it was the hardest thing ever. It was my first time drug-free, and I had a child that was 5 years old that was expecting me to be her mommy. I had no idea what I was doing. So because of the recovery community and being able to, guide me, beautiful pictures and beautiful memories, but it was hard. I tell people all the time, like, using and recovery is hard, but being someone's parent, I have 2 kids now, but being their parent and their guide in life is the hardest shit I've ever done. And, it's the most beautiful, but it's hard. So, throughout that process, I remember healing the relationship with her, and I was doing step work at the time, and it was really hard when I did my step work, and I had to make amends with her. She was 12 years old at the time. I can see her right now, and, telling her, and, she's been raised at McShin, so she gets it for the most part, but that was the hardest amends. It was my very last amends that I made during that time, and it was hard, but it worked, and recovery rocks, yeah. So here we are today, right? So we're healing, my family's healing. I have a son in recovery, he's now 14. My daughter's almost 22 years old. I'm really into pictures, so y'all can throw that up way more than y'all have me up here, because that's the gifts of recovery. That is healing families, saving lives. Teaching these 2 humans, they've been at McShin, Wyatt, my son, since a week after he was born, to be honest with you. So they were raised in a recovery environment. They heard lots of F-bombs, but that's all right, okay? That's all right, because their mama says fuck all the time. They see so much love. They've been raised in an environment. My daughter's been to funerals with me. They get connected to the participants in our housing, and it's family. Recovery equals family. So, my life is beautiful now because of recovery, because of being a mom in recovery and really surrounding myself with awesome people. I have a son, like I said, he's 14. I have an awesome, amazing husband. We met in rehab, hey. Yeah, I don't necessarily recommend it. I did write a book called Scattered Pink. You can read all about the turmoil we had for a year, but we've been together, 18 years now. But I didn't meet him at McShin, so we did not make any McBabies. But we did meet in another treatment, and he's my rock. And before this, I was a little nervous, and I don't usually get nervous, and he said, don't F it up. So that's how much he loves me. So with all of that, the services, the services that we provide now, we have officially, it took me years. I've been wanting to open a women and children's recovery house at McShin for so long. And we finally did it. We named it after my daughter. It is called Destiny House. It is a beautiful home. We serve, it's the capacity for 5 moms with 1 child, whether they're pregnant, 7 months pregnant and postpartum, and a child up to 3 years old. So we actually just got an email yesterday. So we're full. We have 5 mommies with 5 babies in that house. And where does a recovery community organization, a certified recovery house, and we freaking rock. And everywhere I went nationally, I've been doing this a long time, 16 years, it's like, oh yeah, that's such an underserved community. Well, damn right it is. These moms need services, not just housing. There's so much more that they need. You need relationships with the community, for Department of Social Services, daycare. I mean, damn, you need 4 jobs to pay for daycare now. So we have grants that provide all of their housing for free, and also provide daycare up to 6 weeks, and then they get all in their services. So it's been a beautiful, beautiful process. From where I came with Destiny, to be able to, to be able to open a home for moms like me, and to be able to not just heal the mom, but show that next generation and heal that next generation has been life-changing for me. It's been life-changing. Yes, crown is tilting. Let me fix that. So these are some of our moms and children that we serve with their permission. You know, they have become us. They're surrounded, all of our participants, so we have 16 houses. Everyone loves these babies and children. Like, they're protected. They have so many services, but also it's really, last night, one of them in the picture texted me, is like, I opened my savings account. She won the 50-50 raffle we did on Sunday, and she put all the money in her savings account. I mean, this is what recovery is. So if you're out there and you need more information, you can find me, but really the underserved community really needs to constantly be served. These children need their parents in their lives, so we need to keep continually healing families and saving lives. And how we do that is we mobilize together. Some shout outs to the Mobilize crew. Me and Ryan and Garrett have been friends for a long time, and they really kick it in gear and like how to mobilize, how all of us can come together and change the world. So recovery rocks, have fun. God, that 10 minutes goes by fast.
Mobilize Recovery across Georgia is a historic initiative by the Clinton Foundation and CGI, and are saving lives across the state of Georgia.
This bus tour is really an attempt to sort of knit the fabric of the community together.
Addiction is not a moral failing and is not a death sentence.
We know that we have about 800,000 people in the state of Georgia living in long-term recovery. Our goal is to bring those people together, to hear their stories.
Our role as faith leaders is to normalize the conversation.
Your faith leaders need you.
What if we gave education to all our faith leaders and they actually could be part of the healing process?
I am here today to hand off these tokens of our appreciation to this community by way of the Overdose Aid Kit or OAK box. In the words of President Clinton, we believe that Narcan should be as easily accessible as a fire extinguisher.
I realized that there was a need for high quality care that didn't just focus on the short-term outcome, but the long-term outcome.
There are a tremendous amount of agencies and folks here in this community. You can get the help. You're not on this journey by yourself.
For those people who are scared to ask for help, we're bringing the resources to them.
Recovery is real. You don't have to stay in a position that you're in.
I think that this bus tour is monumental.
It's not demonizing addicts, but it's celebrating recovery.
When we build a better life individually, we bring a better life to our community, we build a better life together.
Recovery's freedom. You know what I mean? For so long, you felt trapped and you felt bound.
Recovery is possible for everyone.
We know that the opposite of addiction is connection. The truth is, we can and we do recover. Well, good afternoon, Mobilize Recovery. I'm happy to be here. My name is Chris Thrasher, and I serve as the CEO of the Overdose Response Network at the Clinton Foundation, and I bring you greetings from our principals, the 42nd President of the United States, President Clinton, his wife, Secretary Clinton, and of course their daughter, Chelsea. And let me start by sharing with all of you that I, too, like many of you, if not all of you, am a person living in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is, number one, I'm proud. Number two, I'm not anonymous. And number three, I've been doing this since December 17th, 1989. You know, as you saw from the video that we just played, this whole month we're engaged in what we're calling Mobilize Recovery across Georgia. And we're crisscrossing the state kind of through every nook and cranny, trying to bring the recovery community together in a common voice around what I often call our common struggle, and to share simple messaging. Number one, recovery is real. That is so important that people understand and hear. And second, and perhaps more importantly, we can and we do recover. You know, as the video said, as I said, we know that the opposite of addiction is connection. And that old idea, 1 + 1 + 1 is far greater than 3. You know, said a different way, addition and multiplication is always better than division and subtraction. And I think too often, as Macklemore was sharing, you know, we get sort of bogged down in, you know, how much recovery we might have and, you know, what it means to relapse. You know, the bottom line is a simple one. We are stronger together than we are divided. We need to come together. The recovery community, the harm reduction community, all of us need to come together and figure out how to save as many lives as we can, because at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is, you know, share that message that addiction is not a moral failing. It's a chronic, treatable brain disease. And, you know, just as things go wrong with the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, things can go wrong with our brain. And it's nothing to be ashamed about. It literally is another organ in our body. But for some reason, because it's behind our eyes and between our ears, we don't want to talk about it like our heart, our lungs, our liver, our kidneys. But I can assure you that if we're able to talk about it in an open, honest way, we can expect things to change. We have to have those conversations. You know, we heard the second gentleman talk about stigma. It's a word that's thrown around, I think, all too often to describe the challenges around understanding addiction. But, you know, if I talk about health disparities for 1 minute, 1 in 10 of folks that need treatment for a substance use disorder will get it this year. 1 in 10. So imagine if we had 10 type 1 diabetics and I said, only 1 of you get the insulin that you need. The other 9 will have to figure it out. Or I had 10 of you that had hypertension and I said, only 1 of you are going to get the blood pressure medication that you need. The other 9, got to figure it out on your own. If that were to happen, people would be outraged. But it's happening in substance use disorder, 1 in 10. And that's with the federal law known as the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act. It is federal law, and still our payers are not doing the right thing. So we have to hold them accountable. You know, a 90% treatment gap is huge. So stigma, it's not stigma. It's discrimination, it's bias, and it's prejudice. And we're the ones that have to say that loud and clear to our payers and make sure that they take responsibility for what is the law. Talking about partnerships, Mobilize Recovery and the Clinton Foundation came together to distribute naloxone. And we have done just that across 21 states to date over the last few years, donating or giving away more than 800,000 doses of naloxone for free. And we've just acquired another piece of that naloxone distribution program known as the Oak Box, the Overdose Awareness Kit. And Jessica Geschke, the newest member of our Overdose Awareness Kit / naloxone distribution / overdose, you know, whatever we call ourselves today. She's a member of our team, and we're happy to have her. So thanks, Jessica. So as we've crisscrossed Georgia and as I've worked in this area for the last, you know, lot of years, something's reinforced to me constantly. It's all about leadership. You know, we need leaders who will care enough, who will know enough, and are willing to do enough, and perhaps most importantly, persevere until the job is done. You know, leaders respond to opportunities, to challenges, to crises. Leadership is like a team sport. It's not necessarily position dependent. But effective leadership, we know that it can really transform communities. It's almost like a relay race, and do we know when it is our turn to either take the baton or pass the baton to the person either coming up behind us or is already ahead of us? Because I would suggest to you that leadership is too important to leave its emergence to chance alone. So we really have to identify and train and support our next generation of leaders. And one of the ways we lead is by strategically partnering with an organization that helps us tell our story. So the Clinton Foundation and Mobilize Recovery has partnered on several initiatives that I've just talked about, but our 2 organizations also partner with Masimo. Masimo is an incredible medical technology company that has single-handedly changed the addiction recovery space. Bilal Musin serves as Masimo's Chief Operating Officer and has played a key role in the development of numerous innovative medical technologies over the course of his more than 20 years with the company. Bilal leads the innovation, sales, and marketing teams for Massimo that work to strategically serve our recovery community. Two of these innovations, and I'm slowing down purposely because I really want you to hear this, that will save lives in our community are the Bridge and the Halo. And I know that he's going to talk about both of them in his remarks. But listen up, folks, and tell each one, teach one, tell your friend, because I know when I heard about this, I've been in the recovery community for decades, and I didn't know this technology was out there several years ago when I learned about it. So listen up, this stuff is saving lives, and we are blessed to have our COO of Massimo, Bilal Musan, here with us today.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, why is a medical device company here at Mobilize Recovery? Our CEO is actually blessed. He was able to join President Clinton, Chris Thrasher, and Ryan Hampton at the Mobilize Recovery Tour in Little Rock, Arkansas last year. And with that, he experienced something to him that was heartfelt. He experienced something where he saw people that have suffered through recovery, heard stories of people that have lost loved ones, and recognized that everybody can have a place in helping with recovery. And with that, he took that passion and came back to Massimo and brought that passion back to our team and said, we can do more with technology. Since then, we've been really focused on this, and more recently, we've received the first de novo grant from the FDA on a wearable device that allows us to monitor people on opioids and has a specific pattern recognition algorithm that allows us to alarm and notify the person that is going through an opioid-induced respiratory depression, or notify their loved ones by texting them with the location, and if it goes further, notify through EMS to get some help for that person. We hope this product makes a true impact in the lives of people that need it most. In addition, we have a product called Bridge, which is also the first FDA-cleared product to allow people to recover without pain. Basically, when people are going through withdrawals, there's that pain of withdrawal that occurs. And this is a drug-free device that is a neuromodulation device. It's placed behind the ear and delivers neuromodulation to reduce that pain, to allow people to go through that difficult period of recovery. We also hope that device allows people to really make an impact during their recovery and on the path to success. A really big thanks to Mobilize Recovery and Ryan Hampton and the team that bring us all together here today. Their efforts has been tremendous. I'd also like to thank the FDA for their efforts in recognizing the problems related to opioids and making this a priority. We were so excited when they introduced this innovation challenge of about 250 companies joined. We were one of 8 that were chosen as winners of that. We were the only one that actually made it through the entire process to receive a cleared device or an approved device with our de novo grant, and we'd like to thank them for that and to bring awareness to that problem for all the medical device and tech companies out there. A special thanks to the administration and Congress. We heard them speak this morning, SAMHSA and all their efforts, and also the team we work with closely, everybody from A Song for Charlie, Theo and his efforts and his team with End Overdose, T3 Shamrock, and of course, Chris Thrasher and the Clinton Foundation. Most importantly, we understand and we recognize the monumental efforts that it takes to take that first step towards recovery. And we appreciate those heroes that go through that. We also acknowledge all of the families, from mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, wives, husbands, children, that are truly the first responders when it comes to this. A big round of applause for them and a thank you. Last but not least, we'd like to introduce a program here that would hopefully enable more access to this type of technology. We're calling this the Opioid Safety Initiative. And with this, we'd like to provide these products at a discounted rate to all the federal and state-funded activities that are going on, be it in the jails, at schools, in all of the recovery centers that are receiving these funds and aids to help enable and spread this technology to the people that need it most. Once again, we're honored to be here amongst you, honored to be part of this family. We do have a booth right outside here that showcases some of the technology. And it's there really for us to learn more about what is the need. We create tools at the end of the day, and we need people like you to understand how those tools can be applied to save lives. So thank you for including us, and we're really proud to be here today. Thank you.
And now it's time for the next set of breakout sessions, which will start in 10 minutes. And as a quick reminder, if you haven't picked up your swag bag yet, you can do so at registration. Thank you.